Now, next up, continuing on the privacy topic here, we will have a next panel focus on privacy, the arguments for and against protecting users' privacy and fungibility in crypto. We will have Ruben, the COO of Zcoin. We will have Lina Sish of Bitsy. We will have Eric, co-founder and CEO of Bitpanda. Nimrod, the CEO of Simplex. And Tyler Evans, co-founder of Echo and the co-founder and CTO of BTC Inc. May I have the panelists, please?
All right, hello everyone.
You're the moderator?
Hello.
I'll be introducing everyone next. No, I guess we can just jump into it. You know, this, obviously we're at a crypto conference. We all value and talk about privacy. So we're gonna try to get a little more nuanced in the discussion today and talk about both, I guess, some of the practical implications and the state of privacy in the industry and what's happening and why we should care.
Should we start with some introductions? Introduce yourselves.
Tyler Evans. I'm one of the co-founders of Echo, which is a DeFi layer for Bitcoin, building the infrastructure to do all sorts of fun DeFi stuff like lending and stable coins on top of Bitcoin as a Bitcoin sidechain. Ruben?
I'm Ruben. I'm the CEO of Zcoin. We are a privacy cryptocurrency. We use zero-knowledge proofs that do not require trusted setup, and we've kind of been around since 2016. Yeah.
I'm Lina. I'm the marketing director at Bitsy. We are a crypto, primarily futures exchange. For my stance on privacy, I think it's crucial because it protects us from economic and political oppression.
Yeah, I'm Eric. I'm co-founder of Bitpanda, probably more known in Europe. Yeah, I think there we are the leading broker, so we try to make it as easy as possible to go into crypto. Yeah, and then in this summer we also launched an exchange because apparently everybody's doing it.
Hi, I'm Nimrod, the CEO and co-founder of Simplex. We enable exchanges, brokers, wallets to accept credit cards with zero chargeback guarantee. We're also very soon opening bank accounts to everybody who wants, as our users, to interact with the crypto world. We're seeing ourselves as a fiat infrastructure of the crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, it's fun without a moderator. So the topic is privacy, and we ask ourselves before, how can the future of privacy coins like Zcoin, like Monero, Zcash, you name it, how can it look like? Because from my point of view, regulation is trying to kill these kind of projects. I can just give you a small glimpse of how it's the current situation for us, because we are the on-ramp from fiat in Europe to cryptocurrency. And we don't have any problems of getting bank accounts, which is probably quite new to the crypto companies. But we are facing problems with the bank when it comes to privacy coins. So the newest bank we are currently onboarding said no privacy coins at all. And the privacy coins we currently have are trade only. That means you cannot withdraw them, or you cannot deposit them. So actually these are purely for investing or for speculation. This is far away from optimal, and this is not what I personally want, but it's more than me. So we have to keep the banks happy, and we have to have the crypto guys happy. And that will be a problem in the future even more, especially as regulation kicks in with AML5 in January next year.
But one of the things we also have to think about is, how do we define a privacy coin? It seems like a lot of the regulators or even like the banks, it's more about the form rather than the substance. I mean, privacy is a key feature. I mean, even like, Bitcoin maximalists also see that, fungibility is one of the key issues that remains to be solved by Bitcoin. And now we're taking a look like Bitcoin Cash as cash shuffle. I mean, even Bitcoin's looking at, privacy on layer 2 with Lightning Network. Whether it actually will go down that path remains to be seen. And like Ethereum's also, so whole range of privacy solutions. So what does it mean to be a privacy coin? I mean, of course, for us, everything is geared towards privacy, even at a slight cost of scalability and other types of considerations. But when people talk about banning privacy coins, what happens if this coin implements privacy features? Does that make it a privacy coin? And I feel it's a bit like unfortunate that it's more focused on really just the form and rather than the substance of it.
I think if you can't do chain analysis on a coin, it's more likely to be considered a privacy coin. So that's scary because you cannot people are more anonymous or completely anonymous. You cannot really find out who's behind, who's doing what with the coin. So regulators want to ban it. But my opinion is if you force exchanges to delist privacy coins, if you force them to delist Monero, you're actually making your life harder because you have an institution that uses KYC. So that institution, that's an entrance for users into using privacy coins, and you're taking that away. And if you're thinking that by banning Monero from exchanges, you're killing Monero, then you're in for a surprise because that's not going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen is that Monero and other privacy coins, they're going to get listed on P2P exchanges, driving more volume to these exchanges. And on those exchanges, you have no KYC, and that's going to make it even harder for your chain analysis or whatever you're doing.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of reinforcing the value proposition for those types of coins if it's driving them off the regulated on-ramps and to places where it's all peer-to-peer.
Yeah, but the problem is that then regulators will want you to have, let's say, a full trace of the coin. And that will be the biggest problem, in my opinion. It's not, there's always a way to trade things in a decentralized way, in a peer-to-peer way. That doesn't really matter. But the problem is, what do you do afterwards? You will be caged in your own little ecosystem because you won't get it out. And I can tell you some regulators are already talking about a way of a full history for the coin. So, for example, there were cases that are quite known in the internet, where, for example, Coinbase said, you can't have these. Someone sent it for gambling. In his jurisdiction, it was completely fine. Just because in the US gambling is a problem, regulatory-wise, it cannot be the case that this person will get banned. And that's a huge problem. So when you have then history of a coin, that also means coins that are freshly minted are worth more, and that's already the case. So coins right now that are completely freshly mined, they are traded at actually higher than ones with a history. And that is a big problem. So I'm actually a fan of privacy coin. On the other hand, I don't really see how this will ever be linked in the future to fresh money, to fiat currency, and to centralized exchanges. So that will be a very, very big challenge.
I think, again, I think that privacy coin has an interesting concept, but maybe, and again, we briefly discussed it earlier, I think that maybe it's time that we recognize the fact that there is no privacy, and it's a great concept, but it's not working for anyone. I mean, information wants to be free, and information is getting free. I don't know if you know that the average time between an organization was hacked and until they know they got hacked, you know how long it is? Anybody has a guess? How long does it take to an organization to know they got hacked? Anyone? You know. Anybody has a pulse? Okay, so it's 380 days. That's the average time that a large organization takes them to understand that they got hacked, meaning that your information is out for over a year, meaning that everybody has it. So everybody's information is out there. everybody can get it on the dark net. Don't know if you ever went through the dark net, but there's tons of information about everything, including all your financial information and identity information. And the fact that in this ecosystem currently, I've provided my KYC information to, I don't know, 30 exchanges at least, doesn't make me feel much safer. None of them has any regulatory scrutiny with regard to how they hold my KYC information. So my information is out there. It's probably super easy to steal anyone's identity over here. If you have a Western way of life, you're in social media at all, you use credit cards, all of your information is out there. I don't think there's any way you can contain it, and maybe it's time we recognize it and just look at it as a different way to look at society and what's right and what's wrong and who's using whose information.
I do think that, privacy or transparency, it's not the binary thing. It's not you either have it or you don't. I mean, obviously, although, I'm a privacy advocate, I still use Facebook, but knowing what I know about Facebook, I think privacy is not just about hiding. It's about having the ability to choose what I want to reveal to the world, right? So with Facebook, yeah, I know they're mining my data, but I'm not going to post very sensitive pictures. I'm not going to attach my location to things that I do. So in that sense, with Bitcoin, if you don't have any sort of privacy mechanisms or all this type, you just don't have a choice. Whether, let's say if I have an address, with 100 Bitcoin, I pay someone 0.01, immediately he knows I have 100 Bitcoin. And I do feel that it's important that we don't give up and just roll over and say, no, there's no point in privacy technologies because it's inevitable that you have all this data out there. But there are still, I would say, bastions that we can still protect. Cash is actually one of them. And, like Lena being from Germany, it's a really big topic right now where despite them being such an advanced country, they actually really, really love cash. And I think that's a really interesting thing because they see it as a check and balance between government control and the people's rights. Yeah.
I just want to ask you something. Did you bring your phone?
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Can you give it to me?
If you don't change anything, but only look at it, yeah, sure.
Just want to read your messages.
Sure.
Are you sure?
Everybody else does. Facebook does.
Do you have a passcode on your phone?
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Because if it gets stolen, then it can be rooted and they just can use it as a new device.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you see where I'm getting at?
No, I do.
You say there's no privacy, but there is privacy.
No.
There, on the idea, if the statement that there is no privacy gets any traction at all, then you're basically giving your regulators and your government, whoever, a free pass to actually killing your privacy.
But they take it anyhow. They're not asking your permission.
No. It's not a no. What you mean, I think, is not the question of I don't have anything to hide. I'm not a criminal. It's about, for example, do you want everybody to know on which porn site you just bought something, or where are you gambling? That's the question. It's not illegal, but then there are countries, and it's getting more popular, thinking about social score. So,
China, mostly.
So let's assume you were gambling somewhere where it's legal, or you went on a porn site, then your social score is lower. You know what I mean?
It's exactly where I'm getting at. I think that it's inevitable, and I think that the social inspection of what you do and how to judge you about how and what you do will change. So right now, if I'm gambling or I'm watching porn, is considered like lowering my social score. It's in the future, it's not going to affect it because it will be visible to everyone that everybody's doing that. I have 4 kids, 2 of them teenagers. They couldn't give less of a fuck where they post what. It's like all over the place. And I try to pound like you should hide some things and you shouldn't post some things, but they just don't see it. That's the world they live in.
So that's because we live, and I suppose you too, don't mean it personal, a very privileged life where you can showcase what you can showcase your preferences, be it sexual, political, religious, or whatever,
Right.
and that
Or
can
have
change. And there's
opposing party against the government.
nothing protects you from a switch of government or the election of an authoritarian leader. And if that changes, they have all that information, they can go, okay, well that makes you a criminal, you know.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So the reason, for example, Facebook is still out and about and users didn't really react to all the privacy news is because even if you use Facebook and maybe your email is leaked or something, there's not really any harm done to you. Maybe you get some more spam emails or something, but it doesn't really hurt you. Yeah. So I also don't think that delete your Facebook is the solution. It's more about the more stuff like that happens, the more awareness there will be. However, there's no real alternative at the moment. Like if you say delete your Facebook, then where are you going to go? You know, you're just asking users to compromise their convenience. So I think the way to approach this is, first one is awareness, which there is, like, it's just, we only change things if we take damage, unfortunately. So
think
creating
of
that
the
awareness.
Cambridge Analytica thing with Facebook. I mean, that's a huge damage.
I didn't take any damage.
What do you mean, U.S. presidency?
Yeah.
UK.
But I don't feel it as a user, right?
What?
So
it has a major global impact. You would feel it if you hadn't yet.
I'm just giving you the view of a Facebook user, right?
No, I'm
like
saying
they
that
can
as a Facebook user, as a citizen of the fucking Western world, look at the president of the US. That's done because there is no privacy, because your data is accessible and you were, not you specifically, because you're not a US citizen, but US citizens were manipulated by a company for money to change their view and change the political course of, you know, choose
So
the
is
new
the
leader of the
lesson
free world.
Because of this scandal, that's why like there's now debate about it. Like for example, Twitter, they recently said no political advertising, and that would not have happened if none of this happened. But because now there's an awareness that this sort of manipulation can happen with the data, people are more aware, and now people are starting to say, okay, maybe as a social media platform, we shouldn't be allowing this type of political targeting. And I think it's a positive move. You know, it's obviously it's not where we should be at yet, and I still think a lot of people underestimate, you know, how much data we're giving. And you know, for the sake of convenience, but the fact is that the conversations are improving. Like if not for Snowden, none of us would be even talking a lot about these issues or realizing the extent that the governments are surveilling us. So I do think it's important to bring these issues to light and give people the choice, that they know what they're giving up when they're using this type of free services, and that would allow, like, you know, there's Proton Mail and all this other stuff, also because of things like this.
I think the lesson out of things like Cambridge Analytica should not be, oh, there's no privacy. The lesson should be, we need our privacy. We need to be in control of that.
We
the
also
lesson
need
should
unicorns,
be, if you get,
but
so
we don't
the
have any unicorns.
Sorry?
We also need unicorns,
No,
but
I
we
mean,
can get
The
unicorns.
lesson,
That's getting absurd. But let's say, for example, if you would have told someone in the 70s how social media privacy right now looks like, they would be scared as fuck. It would be insane for them. This is utopia. For us, we're living in here right now. It's completely normal. How the world looks like in 30 years from now, no idea, and probably completely different. If we haven't even destroyed the planet yet, but it will probably look completely different when you give the scenario right now to a person. It would totally scare everybody away. But these small adaptations, these are the things that make actually things happen on the long run. But then, and I'm a big fan of the concept that there's a movement, and there's also a counter movement. Let it be food, with fast food, very cool in the 90s, and now things are getting more sustainable again, more slow food. And I think this is also a thing with privacy. Now everybody is excited, technology, what we can do, post things and so on. I'm actually thinking that in the near future, or actually starting, people are getting more aware of what's going on, facing consequences, and getting their mindset that I actually have to take care of myself and my privacy. So I think this is
yeah, that's what I think. I think awareness is key. Like the more stuff like that happens, the more people are oppressed in whatever way. Like for example, you want to do a demonstration and you cannot complete a payment because your government doesn't want you to do that demonstration. The more these things happen, the more people are gonna look for solutions. So as you say, there's a movement and there's a counter movement. So the more surveillance tech improves, the more privacy tech improves. And the more people are aware of what's happening, the more people will see and seek privacy solutions. The issue is, yeah, we could all remove our social media, go to an island, whatever, if we'd live privately, but we would severely compromise our convenience. So privacy tech and privacy solutions today are not very easy to use. And I think the more people come into that, more people work on that, the better it's going to get.
Yeah, I agree with Eric that privacy has always been kind of a good that's societally valued, and over time that's been eroded away, mostly, unwittingly, chip by chip without anyone noticing. But now that it is again kind of on the forefront of the national conversation, and we're talking again about what's not just the individual good, but what's the societal good of having, the ability for people to share ideas freely, to have those dissenting points of view, and to do things that, aren't popular in the majority. And even the fact that we're all up here on a panel talking about privacy, and that we're at the forefront of an industry that specifically values this and is building the tools that are kind of the response to the technologies and the tools that have been developed that have, slowly eroded that privacy.
Can I ask you, what do you prefer? Private or corporate digital currencies? Or let's say the ones from China that are released like the state? There's a huge difference. Is it done by a foundation, for example, let's say Libra, where the money is, where the state has no impact at all and the national banks are going crazy right now? Okay, not at all, but compared to when a national bank really issues it and actually can see the whole history of the whole coin.
It's the same thing. Libra, for example.
Yeah.
If Libra launches, it will be a tool for the state for financial surveillance. Libra is not going to launch and be private in any way. It's going to be completely transparent.
I agree with you.
And every centralized currency is going to face that fate.
Anyone has a different opinion? Just asking. I mean, it's like...
I guess to me, like the big elephant in the room is like, this is for and against privacy. Why people are not for privacy, the only reason is like, the commonly stated money laundering, and terrorist financing. And this has always been the case. We are painted as something to enable criminals. I mean, even when I tell people I'm from privacy coins, I think all of you say, I'm not dealing with privacy coins because of the image. Yeah. Right.
Not only the image, also the facilitation. And by the way, I'm not against privacy. Just like I'm not against unicorns. It's just not achievable. And let me tell you a story. I was, because of what we do, we had a conversation with the legal cannabis industry in the States, I think like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And I was speaking with someone who's delivering all the non-material to the West Coast. And I asked him to ask around if they think cryptocurrency could be a good solution. And he spoke with some of the stores, and he came back to me and he said that their response was that Bitcoin is for criminals. I told him, dude, you're a fucking drug dealer, and you're telling me this is for criminals? So it is perceived that way sometimes, and you can't. And okay, maybe you don't.
No,
it will be hard for you to convince me that criminals are not using Monero.
Sure. The point I'm making is that we always talk about these things. And frankly, cryptocurrencies are ants, right? Take a look at, there are reports that 80% of money laundering from developing countries is not through all these fancy mechanisms or cryptocurrency. It's based through trade-based money laundering, which is basically sending goods, marking it up, and that forms 80% of money laundering. Are you going to ban trade? And
nightclubs.
And how about for example, the worst offenders, the ones that actually facilitate actual money laundering, like HSBC, like the Sinaloa cartel? Nothing has happened to them. They just got a little slap on the wrist. No one went to jail. People would die for that, and there was nothing. So governments are being very, very hypocritical when they say that privacy coins are going to facilitate this, and yet they allow all these banks to just walk away scot-free with no repercussions whatsoever. And we have to remember that even Bitcoin, it was created because of the subprime crisis, that we realized that we couldn't trust our banking systems, that they screwed us over and then we had to pay for it to bail out the banks. We are giving the people money for screwing us over. So I really feel that, we have to be real here. If you want to deal with money laundering, you should be fighting the big fish, right? Yeah.
I mean, I can't agree more. And when I have a talk, I always say, okay, Bitcoin is the best invention ever for when it comes to tech and money. But still, the problem will be how feasible will it be? And because you say we're not handling Monero things, not because I don't want to, but we can't. If we do, let's say, crypto trading, then I would. But we are at the gateway, for example, with fiat. And then, what I said before, I have to please the other side. Otherwise, nobody can use the service and can get fresh money into the crypto ecosystem. That's the problem. But I would love to have privacy coins in there.
And there are exchanges, for example, I know Kraken for a fact, even though they are US based, they are very pro-privacy in general. They really use all the resources that they can to protect the Monero listings and all those privacy coins. And even right now, even what happened in Korea, there's some kickback and to say that, look, maybe you should reconsider it. Not to say that, yes, of course, regulators, I guess their default is to just hate it. But often we are scapegoat. I think one very good example was what happened in Japan when CoinCheck got hacked and NEM was taken from the exchange. And the thing is that that was the fault of the exchange, right? Not proper security practices and whatnot. But no privacy coins were involved in that hack. There was no money laundered with privacy coins, and somehow the government, instead of saying this exchange sucked, they go privacy coins are bad. We're what's the logic of that, right? Didn't really make sense. And sometimes, we always the scapegoat of stuff when actually the real problem is a much bigger one, which are exchanges that suck.
That's exactly why they concentrate on the crypto ecosystem instead of on HSBC, because it's easier, because you were smaller, and that's it, basically.
What I'm excited about is people like Ruben being that scapegoat and taking all the flack, attracting the regulators while slowly Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these other projects can add those privacy layers in to get to the same functionality someday, but they're already supported by all the banks and on-ramps.
I think, just to paint a picture for the future, I think Bitcoin will be the most private coin on the long run, because the others cannot be used, I think.
I think really, when you say Bitcoin's the most private coin, I think
it's not right now, but I mean in the future.
Even in the future, because what is the key thing that we always talk about with Bitcoin, which is knowing that there will only be 21 million coins. That's a really, really big thing. Now, for ultimate privacy, you need the high amounts.
Why?
Because, knowing how much I paid for something, the transactions go through, it is really important.
It doesn't matter.
It also matters in chain analysis to say which amount is changed or not. So even if you need, for high privacy, even for us, right now we expose amounts, but we allow people to burn coins and redeem them, but because of the exposed amounts, we can determine some patterns to get some sort of information from them. If you want actual high privacy, you do need to hide those amounts. And I have a feeling that it's really, really unlikely for Bitcoin to go that path to sacrifice supply auditability. And I do think that Bitcoin doesn't, fix everything, as a lot of people say.
No, but Bitcoin doesn't say it fixes everything. I mean, this is why there are several coins out there, right?
Sure, and that's why I feel that, let the privacy coins do what they're good at, sacrifice some scalability, even usability, but let Bitcoin be what it's good at, wherever you think it should be, store of value or whatnot. But privacy features would be a very, very contentious thing to introduce into Bitcoin.
Well, you can have reasonable privacy in Bitcoin today. It's just your average user is not going to do it. So
Like
It's-
Wasabi Wallet and
CoinJoin.
CoinJoin, okay, but I think it's a matter of time before.
I don't
tools.
think there's any real privacy in Bitcoin today.
It's
As-
very
as
easy.
sad
It's very
as that
hard to
is.
gain and very easy to lose. And well, there are ways, and there is research and development. Because ultimately, I'm going to quote Samson, who said, "Bitcoin allows you to make the transactions that people don't want you to make." Right? That's why it's so powerful. But if you don't have privacy in that, that endangers you, right? Because, okay, you make a transaction that people don't want you to make, but then they can link it to you so they can come after you, right? So that's why also a lot of developers and a lot of members of the Bitcoin ecosystem know that introducing privacy is extremely crucial. So I don't know if Bitcoin can become as private as, say, Monero. You'd have to introduce privacy on the base layer, which is interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm anticipating privacy improvement on Bitcoin.
I mean, what we need to avoid is that there will be a whitelisting of coins. As soon as, for example, regulators forces you to whitelist your coins to actually interact with it, then you have a big problem. And this could be also, I think, even today, it could be also done with Ethereum already. So this is something we definitely have to reject at no cost, at all cost. I don't know. Then I think the regulation part and the KYC part has to be done by the exchanges. And the rest, the user should not have this whitelisting, because whitelisting makes also, marking coins means coins with history have different value. And that is a huge problem for all kind of coins in general.
Yeah, I mean, when North Korea and Venezuela started amassing Bitcoin reserves, I think it's only a matter of time before those type of coins get blacklisted. And we haven't seen the censoring of Bitcoin transactions yet, but I think it's going to be a matter of time. Yeah.
I think we're done, no? You want to say something more?
No, it's blinking heavily here. I don't know.
It looks
Yeah.
threatening.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's
Gonna
going
kick us
to
out.
explode or something.
Time for one more unicorn sentence.
Unicorn.
All right. Okay, then.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.